साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Loving Sai Rams and a wonderful afternoon to everyone. I hope I'm audible. Yeah, I think Amishi's smile gives me the confirmation that I'm audible. Thank you. Okay, offering my humble and prayerful salutations to our beloved Bhagwan. I've got a great privilege to introduce Sister Amishi this afternoon for all of us. But before that, I hope everybody is doing well. Everybody had a wonderful lunch. And do remain awake while you have a wonderful lunch, because we are going for a wonderful interaction and a very important topic on Sanatan Dharma. So coming back to introduction, Sister Amishi is a Bal Vikas alumnus. Professionally, she is an author, screenwriter, playwright, director, trainer, influencer, literally wearing 6 hats to play a role in society. As a playwright and director, she has written and directed plays, directed concerts and articles on the scientific and philosophical aspects of ancient culture, including the practical relevance of Bhagavad Gita, the beauty of Natya Veda, the science of Big Bang, as mentioned in the Vedas, and many other spiritual topics. 8 of her scripts have been performed before Swami at Prashati Nilayam during the Ashadi dramas and the Parthi Yatra celebrations by our state of Maharashtra. As an author, she has authored 4 books published by Penguin and Landmark, and her latest book, Answers to Sanatan's Biggest Questions, is under publication by Rupa Publications Private Limited. Amishi has been regularly invited to contribute articles to India chapter, a web portal that is an initiative of a group of intellectuals to spread and advance the intellectual and traditional knowledge heritage of India in a manner that resonates with young and modern Indians like all of us. She has also been on the expert panel of Star Television Network to assess and recruit new writers, and is also on the creative board for various production houses and corporates, and her scripts have been broadcast over popular channels like Disney and Turner International. As a speaker, Amishi has been invited guest at podcast, including the guiding voice on various aspects of Sanatan Dharma and its relevance to contemporary times. She has been a regular speaker on aspects of vibration energy science and their practical application in life. Wearing a hat of trainer, Amishi has also been a faculty and mentor at Sri Sathya Sai National Leadership Program. She's also a trainer at Sri Sathya Sai Wellness Center on self-awareness and effective communication. Finally, as an influencer, Amishi has her own YouTube channel called Pep Thoughts, which deals with manifestation and everyday dilemmas of life through practical and applied spiritual concepts and philosophy. Guys, do go to this YouTube channel, post this talk to see her views and enjoy her thought process. For today, she is indeed a complete institution by herself, wearing the six hats for all of us. And right now, let's put our hands together to welcome her and request her to share her thoughts on this all important topic of Sanatan Dharma. Loving Sai Rams. Over to you, Sister Amishi.
Thank you so much for this generous and long introduction, really. I think in this forum, being Swami's devotee and being a Balvika's alumnus and having had the blessing of my scripts being presented before Bhagwan in his physical presence, I think nothing more is required and nothing more is worth that. So thank you so much. Why are we talking about Sanatan Dharma? This is about my book, Answers to the Biggest Questions About Sanatan, which has been published. It is out and released as of now, about a month back. And by Swami's grace, it's getting great reviews. So today I want to talk about that, not because it is my book, but because I am floored by what I have found in my research on Sanatan Dharma. There were times when I stopped writing because I thought, who am I to write about something so magnanimous and so profound? Because I think all of us need to be proud of this culture. And if my readers feel even 10% of the pride that I have felt while writing it, I will really consider that myself blessed. Jivan Sarthak, literally. And why I am saying this, let me present a few things to you. So first, let me show you something. 1 minute. Okay. All right, let's go here. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So you can see the screen with the book?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you so much. So if you see, when the book was getting published, they asked me, what do you want on the cover page? And if you see, there's something very interesting happening on the cover page. We have Om under a magnifying glass. The reason why Om is under a magnifying glass is because this book has been an investigative book. And why do I say investigative? All of us will agree that we have had questions in our minds, okay? Questions like, how could Ram abandon Sita? I mean, come on. Such an ideal man. How could he be so unfair to Mother Sita? Another pain point that all of us have had is, why the Agni Pariksha? Yeah? I mean, come on. How can you have the Agni Pariksha for Mother Sita's suffering? We've all had things thrown at us. Like, for example, there's a lot of conjecture around what a Shivling is. And none of us, until I started researching and really applying myself to this, even I didn't know, how do I explain a Shivling? People keep throwing at us, your Krishna, Ras Leela, come on. And we don't have answers for it. And because we don't have answers for it, as my personal experience throughout my life while I was growing up, I never felt that kind of devotion or love for Lord Ram because it was always in my head that how can God be so unfair? So, which is why this credibility of the culture is kind of getting fuzzy because we don't have answers to these questions. So, this book began with two instances. The first instance was a student of mine telling me, ma'am, what is the Ramayana? The Ramayana is nothing but a story of a damsel in distress. I heard that. I couldn't blame her because we have really never looked at Ramayana differently. Then another incident that kind of triggered this mission to work on this book was that there was one religious leader of some other religion, let's not take the name. I had heard a lot about his talks. So I just logged in once in my life just to see what the fuss is all about. So in that talk, a Hindu woman asked him a question. Now, she asked him a question. I don't remember what that question was. But I do remember that in response, instead of answering her question, she said, he said, how can you talk like this? Your own God, look at your own God, Shiva. He didn't recognize his own son. Your Ram needed monkeys. He couldn't protect his own wife. So please, don't talk. And that poor lady had no answer to give. So I said, this has to be sorted out. If there are answers, I want to look for those answers. So I was as uninitiated, as uneducated, illiterate about these things when I really started working on it. But during the course of it, I have been flawed. Now, we can do this in two ways. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you a list of questions that we can address. Now, actually, these are very nice images by some of my readers who have sent me the images. Okay, so there is question 1. Why did Sita Ma undergo the demeaning Agni Pariksha? Question 2. Why did Lord Ram abandon Mother Sita? Question 3. What is a Shivling? Question 4. What was the caste system in ancient Bharat? That also gets thrown at us a lot. And the reason this particular slide has no image, because I didn't find an appropriate image. We are so ingrained with such terrible myths about the caste system that if you don't find the right image to explain the caste system. Then the next, what was the status of women in ancient Bharat? And finally, why do Sanatan gods behave like humans? Okay, you have a Shiva crying for his wife. You have Krishna who's stealing butter. These are such human things. And a lot of people feel that, the Purans are nothing but fairy tales because, how can God behave in the ways that the Purans show them to? So I'm throwing it open right now. So right now we have these 6 questions, all right? Please, in your chat box, you give your own preference of any 3 questions that we should answer in this session. And then I will take up the top 3 answers and see. And let's see if we can really get into the logic of what happened and why it happened. And actually how it happened, because there are so many things that have been told to us which are absolutely wrong. And I'm saying this not out of my own sense of conjecture. I'm saying this because I have taken proper references from the Valmiki Ramayana, the Vedavyas Mahabharata, the Purans. So if in a particular chapter I've said Mother Sita said this, I am also saying in which chapter, which slok of the Valmiki Ramayana does Mother Sita say this. So there is nothing in this book that is not referenced. And the reason I wanted to do that also is because, Sanatan culture and our stories have become, our history have become fairy tales. To give you an example, I'll give you one example. A very popular author, a book, Palace of Illusions. So it was very popular, and I know a lot of youth, a lot of my students who were reading the book. So I just Googled it, and the tagline for the book says, Draupadi's lonely childhood with her brother. Okay, which is absolute nonsense because Draupadi never had a childhood. She was born as a marriageable young woman. Draupadi did not have a childhood. All right. Then this Dasera, you're going to get these WhatsApp messages that come around every Dasera. Do not burn the effigy of Ravan because Ravan is a better man than Ram. Ravan stood up for his sister while Ram abandoned his wife. And Ravan didn't touch Sita. Excuse me, Ravan did not touch Sita, not because he had any sense of propriety about him. He did not touch Sita because once when he raped an Apsara, Punjikasthala went to Brahma and Brahma cursed Ravan. Brahma could not kill Ravan because Ravan had a boon that only a man can kill him. No other being, no other god, devta, anyone can kill him. So, Brahma cursed Ravan that if you ever violate a woman again, your heads will break into 1,000 pieces. That is why, out of fear of that curse, he did not force himself on Mother Sita. And the great brother that Ravan was, he was actually the one who killed Surpnakhas, his sister's husband, in his greed for power. I am not saying this, the Valmiki Ramayana says that crystal clear. Crystal clear. So there are so many myths that got busted while I was reading the actual scripture that it becomes very important to spread the message. So yeah, please tell me which of these 6 questions, which 3? We'll take the top 3 and if we have time, we'll take another one. Or we'll take my favorite one. Yes, so far, why do Sanatan gods, we have equal count of, why do Sanatan gods behave like humans? What was the status of women in ancient Bharat? And why did Lord Ram abandon Mother Sita? What is a shivling? Okay.
I think pretty much everybody is asking all to be answered. Popular demand.
I think the maximum has come so far for what is the shivling. And that frankly is one of my favorites also. Because I was floored when I finally got to the response. And I think it's one of the most logical questions. So let's start with that. Then we'll go to the next highest one. Till then you can keep polling and changing. Okay. So for the shivling, I think I can stop sharing 1 minute. When we talk about the shivling, okay? Now the form of the shivling, first we have to understand certain concepts before we get into why is the shivling the way it is. First and foremost, in Sanatan, God is formless. Alright? The Brahman is formless. It is this formless Brahman that takes the forms of different gods, that takes the form of the entire universe, that takes the form of matter in the entire universe. Which is why even Swami used to say that every being is God himself. So he used to say Divyatma Swarupalara. Because God is formless and the universe is nothing but a projection of God. So when somebody says, "Arey, you believe in so many forms of gods and all of that," the truth is we believe in one formless God. Why do we have so many forms? There's a whole chapter in the book with regard to that. That in spite of knowing that God is formless, why do we have so many forms? Okay. But for the moment, let's just understand that in Sanatan, God is formless, the formless Brahman, alright, or the Paramatma. Now, just as Om is the voice of that formless Brahman, the shivling is the simplest visualization of that formless Brahman. How? The shivling is an egg-shaped or a seed-shaped ellipse, right? If you see, the egg is the simplest visualization of complex life. How? The egg itself has no eyes, no ears, no beak, no claws, No heart, no lungs, no skin, no feathers, nothing. But it contains life that has all of it. So the egg is the simplest visualization of complex life. And by the way, the ellipse, you can Google it if you like, is the correct mathematical representation of our expanding universe. Okay? That is what the shivling is. So actually, normally how do we see the shivling? There is a pitham, then there is the ling. Actually, the shivling is the entire egg or seed-shaped ellipse. But such a form cannot be put erect. No, you can't keep an egg erect. No, it will topple. So it needs to be embedded. So the part of the shivling that we see is actually only about 1/3 of the shivling. The rest of it is embedded in the pitham. Okay. Now, what is this pitham? The base of the pitham is called the Brahma pitham. Brahma, creator. The top of the pitham is called the Vishnu pitham. Who is Vishnu? The sustainer of the universe. Right? Now let us look at this shivling. And to understand it, let us take the example of a seed. Alright? A seed, like the egg, is the simplest manifestation of complex life. A seed itself has no leaves, no shoots, no fruits, no flowers, no bark, no roots, nothing. But it contains all of it. So that is Shiv. That is the Shiva Tattva, which is pure consciousness, which is not yet become creation. That is God or Paramatma before creation happens. Okay? Then the seed begins to sprout a little, a little shoot comes out, a couple of buds come out. That is the Brahma Pitham. Creation has started. Okay? Then this particular little bud and shoot needs nourishment to grow. It needs nutrient-rich soil, it needs rainfall, it needs sunlight, it needs all of that. That is the Vishnu part of the shivling, the Vishnu Pitham, the phase of sustenance, so that it can develop and grow. Finally, the seed has become a tree. Okay? The tree with its flowers, with its fruits. And it has lived well, grown well. Now, what will happen to those fruits? Some of them will be eaten by birds, animals, humans. Some of them will rot and fall off the tree. But whatever happens to the fruit, what remains is the seed. So the cycle is complete from seed to seed, from Shiva to Shiva. And that is what the shivling signifies. That we are all nothing but the energy of God. We are all nothing but God. We live in a world created by God. We are provided for by God. But when everything is over, our job is to merge back into who we are, into God. Okay? Now that is the shivling. Now there is a lot of conjecture about shivling. If it is the Vishnu Pitham, Brahma Pitham, Vishnu Pitham and the shivling, why do we say that the top part of the shivling is a yoni? Why do we say that the shivling is a phallic symbol? Okay. First, let's look at the yoni part of it. Now, the yoni is the feminine aspect, right? The feminine aspect is Shakti. Now, think about it. Just consider this. When neither creation nor sustenance nor destruction is possible without energy. Yes or no? Give me a thumbs up if you agree. Whether you want to create the universe, you want to maintain the universe, you want to destroy the universe, you need energy, which is Shakti. So Shakti is not different. That is why we say Shiv Shakti is one. They are just two aspects of the same God, the same Brahman. Alright? But why do we look at it? Why do we give it an orientation of a phallus and a female genitalia? Actually, this is a very anti-common sense way of looking at things. I'll tell you why. Shiva is consciousness, Shakti is energy. Is there anything in this universe that any creature can do without the combination of Shiva and Shakti, consciousness and energy? So, very simple. If you want to eat food, the most mundane thing, eating food, your consciousness will tell you you're hungry, your consciousness will tell you you need to eat, your consciousness will tell you what you need to eat, you need to cook, whatever. And the Shakti will actually make you do it. Right from cooking your food to swallowing it to digesting it, it is all Shakti. So it is a combination, a union of Shiva and Shakti. But then is it a sexual activity? It's not. Look at it in terms of, so all this, whether it is as mundane as eating food, whether it is as intellectual as writing a thesis, again, consciousness and energy ka merger hai. Whether it is something emotional, again, consciousness and energy. This is our life, right? Even the spiritual thing like meditation, you need consciousness to make yourself aware that you need to meditate and the benefits of meditation, the decision to meditate. You need energy to keep your distractions away and to continue in your meditation. Now, this is physical plane, global plane, tides coming and going, the rotation and revolution of planets. Consciousness says this particular planet has to move only in this particular orbit. It cannot jump out of its orbit. It needs to go into this particular speed to keep life going, the universe going. It is Shakti or consciousness or the energy aspect that actually keeps the whole thing, right, together. Again, it is consciousness and energy. It is the merger of Shiva and Shakti. Is this then a sexual activity? It's not. Everything in the universe, any activity, the whole running of the universe is a merger of Shiva and Shakti. It's a union of Shiva and Shakti. Because it is everything, it is also that, but it is not only that. So, I hope this is the whole concept of Shivling. And there are Shivlings, like I mentioned it in the book, I forget. Some Mukambika Shivling, I'll just refer that and let you know. Where the vertical half of the Shivling, one half of the Shivling represents Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, the vertical right half, and the vertical left half represents Mahakali, Mahasaraswati, Mahalakshmi. So these are not physical connotations, these are energy connotations. And even the Bilva Patra that is offered to a Shivling has 3 leaflets. Those 3 leaflets signify Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. So this is the Shivling. Let nobody tell you any controversy about what the Shivling is. Now you have the answer to it. I hope so. So if you have the answer to it, can I have a show of hands or can I have a show of listening to know that the message has come across? Somebody has raised their hand. Who has raised their hand? iPhone raised hand. I don't know who that is. Yes, can I have reactions in the chat box? Do we agree? Is this clear now what a Shivling is?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Very clear, in fact.
So let nobody create any of controversies about this. It's just that. It's just a visualization of the formless Brahman. Okay? Yes, so which is the next question? that which is the next highest question? Siddharth Bhaiya, which is the next highest question? You had the poll.
Actually, I've minimized it now. I'm searching where the poll went.
Actually, there is a tie. So there are three questions which are 18% of votes. One is why Lord Rama abandoned Mother Sita. What was the status of women in ancient Bharat, and why do Sanatan gods behave like humans? So these three are at the tiebreaker.
Okay, so let's take this. Let's take why did Lord Rama abandon Mother Sita? And with that, or should we take women, status of women in ancient Bharat? Maybe we can combine the two. All right. So why did Lord Ram abandon Mother Sita? Now, there is this whole thing that एक धोबी ने कुछ बोला था. The Valmiki Ramayana is very clear. Swami's Ram Katha Rasvahini is also absolutely clear that it was not one dhoti. It was the entire kingdom. The Valmiki Ramayana says in groves, in marketplaces, in discussions on the streets, everybody had a problem that how could Mother Sita, who was abducted by a demon, how can Ram accept her back? Okay? Was it unfair? Totally unfair. Completely unfair. So, but then if it was unfair, then why did Ram and Sita succumb to it, right? The right people, no? So how could they succumb to it? So let's look at it in a different way. Let's look at this in terms of if Mother Sita had not left, what were the other options available to Ram and Sita ji for this whole situation? Okay. So one option is all of us say they could have just ignored, no? Ram knew that Sita is innocent. Why did they have to? They could have just ignored people and continued ruling. Okay. Now the thing is, in ancient Bharat, now we are talking about Treta Yuga. Now, had a similar circumstance happened in today's day and age, nobody would have expected some Sita ji to go away. Nobody would have demanded it. Nobody would have cared. Okay. Why? Because in our world, abduction of women, ill treatment of women is something that we hear day in and day out. We are horrified by it, but we've also accepted it as the normal course of the world, as much as we hate it. What we are talking about is Treta Yuga, where these things were not as rampant as they are today. So obviously they created a big ripple in society. So at that time, when Ram and Sita became the king and queen, they had to take an oath, which was the Raj Dharma. The oath said that the moment they become the king and queen, they have no personal joy, no personal happiness of their own. It's everything is only for the welfare of the people. Now, one of the highest duties of Raj Dharma, if we are looking at a dharmic society, is that the king and queen, the royal family, has to be the greatest epitomes of the highest ethical standards. Anything short is not acceptable. Why? Now just imagine if our politicians are corrupt, what do we say as people? हम लोग भी टैक्स की चोरी करते हैं ना, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? वो लोग भी तो इतनी चोरी करते हैं. If in a family the elders of the family behave irresponsibly, the youngsters also say they are also doing it. No, we will also do it. So what? Who are they to ask us? If in an office, a boss accepts bribes, Then even the subordinates say, no, अरे ये तो bribe ले रहा है, why is he taking? हम भी लेंगे. There is a big, exactly, somebody has said, Raja Chor to Praja Chor. So it is not just important that the king and queen should be ethical. They should also appear to be ethical. Very important. They have to appear to be ethical. They have to be perceived as ethical. Very important. और अगर किंग एंड क्वीन का अपना ही क्रेडिबिलिटी फजी है तो फिर why will people respect their decisions, respect their orders, respect their the way they want to run the kingdom? Nobody will respect that. But look, the entire kingdom can run into chaos. We have just seen what has happened in Nepal, right? When people run into chaos, the worst things can happen. So it is very important that they be perceived as ethical, as the highest standards of moral standards in the kingdom. So, and also look at it this way. We are talking about Ram Rajya. Now, Ram Rajya was a monarchy, correct? But because it was Ram, monarchy को भी democracy जैसे था. So, consider this, if people did not like Mother Sita and Mother Ram and Sita to be together, it was like their vote, which Ram could not have ignored, Sita ji could not have ignored. Okay, so this option that आप ignore कर देते लोग जो बोलते ignore कर देते, this option was not available to them. ठीक है? Now, what other option was there? Second option, why did Ram send Sita alone? He should have gone with her. That way, it would not have been an injustice only to Sita ji, no? He should have gone with her. Why did he send her alone? Now, understand this. People were not as critical of Sita ji as they were of Ram. They were saying, how can Ram accept a woman as our queen who has stayed in a demon's house? So they were judging Ram. Okay. So had Ram ji left with Sita ji, that judgment, that thing would have become permanent. के हाँ देखा, we were right, no, Ram ऐसा ही है, ये royal family ऐसा ही है. Because of a woman, he forgot his Rajdhar. He forgot that he had sworn to look after us. And Ramji going with Sita would not have helped Sita's cause at all. Because people were already having opinions about both of them. By leaving, Ram would have confirmed those false opinions. So this option is also not really the right option. The third option could be, people could have been educated. That Sita Ma had an Agni Pariksha, what all happened in the forest. लोगों को जरा बता देते तो शायद लोग समझ जाते. But just imagine this. Think about it from a woman's point of view. Your officers, your employees, your bureaucrats are talking to your praja about your character and justifying your character in public. It would have been so demeaning for Mother Sita. It would have been so demeaning for the rest of the royal family and for the administration of. Imagine कोई जाके बोले अरे यार उसको ऐसा मत समझो, नहीं ऐसा नहीं है, begging people to understand that she actually went through an Agni Pariksha and no, don't worry, she's pure, she has good character. What nonsense. The fourth option, by its very sound only, the option is unpalatable. That Mother Sita could have undergone another Agni Pariksha. Impossible. It would have been far more demeaning for Mother Sita to undergo another Agni Pariksha rather than leaving the forest. So right now, the only dignified way of handling this situation was that Mother Sita leaves alone. She left in the middle of the night. Why? Because so that nobody ऐसे नहीं दिखना चाहिए कि she is leaving in front of everyone so that somebody will tell her कि आप रुक जाओ मत जाओ. No, she left. All right. Lord Ram stayed back. Now, what is the effect that this whole thing had? We have to understand that Ram actually did not really abandon Mother Sita. How I'm saying this, although they stayed separate and it was extremely unfair what happened. But Lord Ram openly supported Mother Sita. How did he do that? One, he stayed back, he ruled the kingdom, but he did not marry again, even though he did not have an heir. He did not marry again. Second, when he did the Ashwamedh Yajna, he had a golden statue of Mother Sita right next to him, in glaring view of all those subjects who were against her. What did he say? By having that statue, he said, while as a king I have respected your nonsense and I have heard your nonsense, but as a man, as a husband, Sita is the only woman fit to be my wife and your queen. Take it or leave it. He very openly supported her. By that time also what had happened is, Lord Ram had such a beautiful way of ruling his people that he had established what was called the Ram Rajya. Even today Ram Rajya ka example dete hain. Because he had established the Ram Rajya, people had grown to love him, trust him, adore him. So when Lord Ram put Sita Ji's statue in front of, during the Yajna, people realized the itna dharmic emperor, itna wonderful emperor who is doing such good for us. If he trusts Mother Sita, then it is possible that she is innocent and we have been wrong. By that time, Valmiki ji had sent Love and Kush to Ayodhya, and they started singing the Ramayana. And once they heard the Ramayana, actually what had happened, people realized what a horrible mistake that they had committed. So then, and people revered Love and Kush, by the way. They recognized that they are Lord Ram and Mother Sita's sons. So then Mother Sita was asked to come to the court. Of course, there was still a few doubting Thomases there, and so she was asked to take the oath again. Just one last oath. Mother Sita did not protest, she did not plead. All she said was, yes, I will take the oath if I have been loyal to my husband. Then let Mother Earth come. Let the earth split open. Let my mother come and fetch me. The earth split open. Mother Earth came on her throne. She took Sita with her and went away. Now, what was this? If people were finally beginning to accept her, why did Sita ji go away? Sita ji went away because, come on, is it fair? Should anybody accept such treatment? That तुमको मेरे बारे में मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग था तो तुमने मुझे निकाल दिया, आज वो दूर हो गया तो वापस लेके आए. मतलब was she an object? And the very reason people were opposed to Mother Sita being the queen was because she was the queen and she was an example for families in the kingdom. So should any person accept such treatment? So what did Mother Sita do? She said, अगर उनको प्यार से बुलाती तो शायद रह जाती, but because this little doubt was there, she left in defiance of her husband, she left in defiance of her sons, she left in defiance of her praja, and she went. And the impact of that is that till today, all of us debate that Mother Sita was treated unfairly and Ram treated her unfairly. Nobody points a finger at Mother Sita. Number one. Second, this left an indelible impression on the consciousness of Bharat. Can you imagine the same people who were doubting of Mother Sita, the same culture that doubted Mother Sita actually in many parts of India worships Draupadi, who had 5 husbands and who was almost disrobed in the court of Hastinapur. Look at the shift in the way women were looked at. So Ram and Sita, what happened with them was terrible and it was unfair. Nobody can argue that it was fair. But the way they handled it, as painful as it was the best and the most dignified way of handling it. It was the most dignified way of making people realize, had they given explanations, people would not have accepted explanations. But when it happened this way, people realized on their own that हमने जो किया गलत किया, we should not have done this to our king and queen. We should not have done this to a woman. So that is why, as bad as it was the best thing that could be done under the circumstances. So do you agree with me or not? Is there anyone who has a counter or question or something? And whatever I have mentioned is there. I have only connected the dots, but the facts are all there in the Valmiki Ramayana. And for those who say that the Uttar Ramayana was not written by Valmiki, again wrong. Valmiki ji himself has said that he has written an Uttar Ramayana and he says it in the Balkan. He has said it in the Balkan that 6 Kans plus an Uttar Kan is what he has written in the Ramayana. So it is written by Valmiki Ramayana ji. Please do not believe anyone who says that the Agni Pariksha or Sita's abandonment has been introduced later by anti-Hindu people. No, it is very much there, written by Valmiki. Okay. So yes, so this is another question. What is the third question that we need to take up? Naveen?
Yes, so the third one is what was the status of women in ancient Bharat?
Okay, so what was the status of women in ancient Bharat? Firstly, so in this particular chapter, I also end with a little para on Mother Sita and feminism. Now, actually, it's so sad that some of the best serials, shows on the Ramayana have portrayed Mother Sita as a very weak character. Okay, she's crying, she's pleading, she's hurt. Actually, she was the epitome of strength. Okay, so firstly, she actually says this to Rama when Sri Ram told her कि तुम forest में मत जाओ, you know. She said, why? To your mother, you say that she has to be with your mother has to be with her husband. So why are your rules different for me and for your mother? And it is my right, my duty, and my desire to come with you. So Sri Ram says, "Ek kaam karo, tu mere raho. You become friends with Bharat, Emperor Bharat. You look after, you do this, you do that." She very clearly tells him, "Listen, my parents have taught me what I need to do, how I need to run my life. I don't need those instructions from you." She was so clear and candid with Lord Ram. Okay. Then when Lord Ram took the oath with the rishis in the forest that I will protect you, Mother Sita was against that. She debated with Lord Ram. She said, if you kill Rakshasas who have not done any direct harm to you, then the dharmic warrior inside you, that dharma will go for a toss, no? Like, I don't want to. The dharmic warrior is a warrior who fights for a cause. If you attack people and kill people who have not done any direct harm to you, then I'm scared that you will become a compulsive killer, an adharmic warrior. So that is the time when Lord Ram tells her, no, I'm a Kshatriya and I will have to protect whoever. Even though I am in the form of a sannyasi right now, I'm still a born Kshatriya. So I will have to protect those who come to me for protection. And when Lord Ram and Sita ji have this kind of a debate or a discussion, when she's convinced of it, she supports him unconditionally. But it is not that she blindly followed Ram. It was never like that. And by the way, one myth that I want to bust right now is that it was never an Agni Pariksha, it was an Agni Pravesh. And why is it called Agni Pravesh? Because Mother Sita had asked for it. She was the one who told Lakshman, light the fire, I'm going into the fire. Okay. Very clearly mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana, Canto 115, 116, 117, and the verse numbers are also there. Okay. Now that's another chapter. Now coming to the status of women in ancient Bharat. Let's look at the status from 3 points, 3 angles. One, education. The Ramayana and Mahabharata are full of instances where women are debating with men about the injunctions of the various Shastras. You have Kunti debating with or reminding Pandu, you have Draupadi with the Pandavas, you have Sharmishtha with Yayati, you have Yudhishthir and Draupadi, you have so many instances of women, Anusuya herself, you have so many instances of women talking about the Shastras to men. So, you have Draupadi and Dhritarashtra. So, which means women were as educated in the Shastras as were men, number one. Secondly, in ancient Bharat, you had something called the Swayamvar. Now, Swayamvar was mainly for princesses who used to choose their husbands from among those. Now, for her to select the husband of her choice, she had to be aware of the political scenario in her in Bharat, no? How would she decide this king is better than the other king? Unless she was aware of that every king's accomplishments, failures, what they have done, what kind of kingdom they run, what is going on, how would she choose her husband? Third thing, not just the Shastras, and Rukminiji writes a letter to Krishna. So it's not just about education, it's not just about Shastras. Also, art. Like Arjun teaches dance to Uttara, who's King Virat's daughter, and the other girls in the this thing. Narad ji has taught Chitralekha to do painting. Vali's wife, Tara, she was a known political strategist and she was also a lyricist. She used to write hymns. So women were as educated, as aware as men were. And there are so many such instances. Second thing is, Kaikai was a warrior. She was a warrior princess. She saved Dashrath's life. So all these forms of various skills and various forms of education were available to women. That's number one. Second, when we talk about tapasya, when we talk about the spiritual aspect of life, so Rishi Atri's wife Anusuya was the one who had done tapasya for 10,000 years, who managed to alter the flow of time. Alright. There was one palmist who came to Sita ji before she was married, and she predicted that as per your chart, you were going to have to spend most of your life in forests. Then Vedavati, she did tapasya. She destroyed herself by her own yogic strength when Ravan attacked her. So tapasya, then even in the Mahabharata times, Amba did such tapasya against Bhishma, and she was supported by all the known rishis, the great stalwart rishis of the time, to take her revenge on Bhishma and supported in that tapasya. Then Satyavati went for tapasya, and with her two daughters-in-law, Ambika and Ambalika. So women were allowed to do tapasya. Then second thing, uh, so Gargi has composed some of the hymns of the Rig Veda, and she was a spinster throughout her life. She didn't get married. That was allowed, and she was called one of the 9 gems in the court of Emperor Janak. So that is how accomplished women were. Before, when Sri Ram was going to the forest, Vashisht was so angry with Kaikai. He actually told Kaikai that, you know what, if you're going to send Ram to the forest, fine, let you send Ram to the forest, but Sita will rule in his place. Vashisht ji was very clear that Sita should take the throne of Ayodhya. But Sita ji did not take it because she wanted to accompany Ram. Okay, so all that was available. There are a lot more details in the book. All that was available to women. As far as marriage is concerned, Hidimba proposed to Bhim and she asked Kunti for Bhim's hand in marriage. And the Pandavas and Kunti got Bhim married to her respectfully. Nobody judged her for that. Okay? Devyani proposed to Yayati without even consulting her father Shukracharya ji. That was also allowed. Nobody judged them for that. Then Ulupi professed her love to Arjun. Nobody judged her for that. Then women did tapasya to get grooms of their choice. Nobody judged them for that. Savitri, who we think is the epitome of Pativrata Nari, okay. Savitri herself, her father asked her to pick a groom for herself and she traveled the entire country to find a groom for herself, a suitable groom for herself. Okay. Even things like second marriages. So, in the story of Nal and Damayanti, Damayanti orchestrates something. So, somebody has said, when you say they were allowed to do tapasya, who allowed them? No, it is not that they sought permission to do some tapasya. It doesn't mean that they had to seek permission. When I say they were allowed to do that, matlab nobody objected to do for them to do tapasya. That is what I'm trying to say. They were not, it's not that they had to seek permission from some kind of an authority. Maybe their parents, obviously, even a son going out taking sannyas would have to address this with his parents, but nobody else. Okay, so they were not made to seek permission. Okay. Yeah. So the thing about the Shiv Dhanush that Anush is mentioning is, I think, there in the Ramcharitmanas, but that incident by itself is not there in the Valmiki Ramayana. So in this particular book, I have stuck to Valmiki Ramayana, Vedavyas Mahabharata, and the Vyas Purans. So yeah, it is possible, and if Swami has said it is absolutely true. But the reason I have not said it because it's not there in the Valmiki Ramayana. And if this book was only for devotees, then I need not have even looked at Valmiki Ramayana and Swami's Ram Katha Rasvahini would have been enough. But since it is for outsiders as well, so I have to stick with references from the Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, so yeah, so all of these are there. Then when Ravan raped women and Kunji Kasthala particularly, she went to Brahma, nobody judged those women. Ravan was cursed repeatedly for his acts. So, and it is written in the Brahma Vaivarta Puran that taking advantage of a woman, abducting her forcefully, taking advantage of her when she is intoxicated or weak, or in a weaker position, where her own will is not there, is a punishable crime. It is said, looking after your wife, looking after her needs, and for a father to find a groom who is worthy of his daughter was one of the father's highest duties, if the daughter had not found somebody on her own. Now, when it comes to Nal and Damayanti, which is a tale even more ancient than the Mahabharata, all the devas wanted to marry Damayanti, but she was in love with Nal. It's a very fascinating story in the Mahabharata. But Damayanti rejects the devatas and she marries Nal. And Nal is he is so touched by this that in the entire in the entire court, he goes down on his knees and he tells Damayanti that you have picked me, even in spite of the fact that the devatas wanted to get married to you. So this honor that you have cast on me, I will be, throughout my life, you will find me as your humble servant ready to fulfill every command of yours. And when Nal says that, everybody, including the devatas that Damayanti had rejected, are so happy with Nal for saying this, that they actually give boons to Nal. 2 boons each to Nal. I mean, that is the status of women. That was the way, and very interesting. Now, I know that Rukmini had asked for Krishna to come and elope with her, take her away. But you know what Rukmini writes in a letter? It is written in the Bhagavad Puran. She says, while she acknowledges how wonderful a person Krishna is, you know what she says? She talks about her own qualities and she tells Krishna, you are the only man worthy of me. She is not saying that, oh, I am your devotee, you come and take me away. No, you are the man who is worthy of me. Look at the kind of confidence, look at the kind of self-worth that was there amongst women of that time. These days we have this great feminist trend, right? Women take up retain their maiden surnames even after marriage. Why should we give up our identity? We should have our identity. Fantastic, well done. But women of ancient Bharat did it all the time. Draupadi was always Draupadi, Drupad's daughter. She was always Panchali, princess of Panchal. Sita was Janki, Janak's daughter. She was Vaidehi, the princess of Videha. She was not Ram Patni. She was not Ayodhya Vasini. She was Vaidehi. She was Maithili. So this was there. I remember once there was this great hula baloo about cricketers. I know MS Dhoni and all, on their shirts they actually wrote their mother's name, and we were like, wow. And it's been a big thing that, why only father's name? Why not mother's name in our forms and all of that? Hello? In ancient Bharat, Pandavas were called Pandavas because they were Pandu's sons. They were also called Kaunteya because they were sons of Kunti. Duryodhan was the Dhritarashtra Putra, he was also Gandhari Nandan. Bhishma was Shantanu Nandan, also Ganga Putra also. So the name Karna was Radhe because his mother's name was Radha. So women, this respect to mothers has been in the DNA of Sanatan Sanskriti. And there is not one other Sanskriti in the world where the Para Brahman is given the adjective, given the visualization of a woman. When we say Adi Shakti, this honor is there only in Sanatana. You will never hear a she for God in any other culture. You will hear it in Sanatana. So when you say Adi Shakti, I mean, God, everything else falls into place. And one more thing that I want to, of course, this is a part of another chapter where I'm talking about, is cultural identity important? Is it important that we wear our tilaks or our bindis or where we wear our saris? Why is it important? There's a chapter discussing that. But the one thing that I do want to say is that, and I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. Just give me a second. Where was I? We were talking about women. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I got it. Thank you. So, Bharat, over the past few decades, has seen a great feminist upsurgence, right? Women have kind of uh, liberated themselves. There's more self-worth from what medieval times may tha. But you know where that cultural change has actually come from? It has come from women recognizing how can you worship devis while undermining women, right? So ultimately, our feminism has been driven by our devis. Because for us, we are so clear that women need to be revered and respected that we say if you're doing it to devis, which is correct, you have to do it to women in daily life also. So our feminism has come from our devis. So that is why our cultural icons are so important, because they are a part of who we are. So this is, there are a lot more points with regard to women, but I just gave you a gist of what was the status of women in ancient Bharat. If you have any other questions, you can. In fact, Krishna's grandson, Anshuman, was abducted by Usha because she had fallen in love with him. Now, we can debate how ethical it was or what it was, but for a woman to dare to do that kind of a society we have. So, the status of women in ancient Bharat was what? Yes. Any other questions? Any thoughts? Any questions? Any others? In a way, yes. Subhadra did not abduct Arjun. Subhadra gave him the signal that she was okay to be abducted by him. So yeah, women were very open with professing their love, and that was neither judged nor it was scorned. It was done in a very respectful way. So yes, and very straightforward way. So many instances. Any other questions? What else would you like me to discuss? Which was the third one?
It was why Sanatan gods behave like humans.
Okay. So, why do Sanatan gods behave like humans? Just one question. I think just asking this one question should resolve it. Although I have an entire chapter on that. Let's say God is a formless entity, right? Even when we talk about Ram and all, we don't really see them, right? We know of their stories. Let's say there is this formless entity. We don't know whether that entity is male or female. We don't know. There is no way of reaching out to that entity. We only have faith that that entity exists. So, out of that faith, we can talk to them, we can pray to that entity. Well, we can pray to that entity which is formless. How do we know what that entity thinks and what it wants to tell us? How do we know that? Who is to decide that? How can we decide कि अरे what is God thinking? God thinking अरे यार फिर आ गया अपनी problems लेके. These human beings are such useless things. How do we know? How do we know that every time we go and cry in front of God or ask them for something or a solution, God doesn't say अरे यार what a moron. Life is not this. कहाँ उलझा पड़ा है यार? How do we know? Or how do we know that God says, Arey bichara, poor thing, yaar. No, let me help that person. I'm there for you. I support you. How do we know that? A lot of cultures look at what some prophets have said, right? I don't want to discount any prophet. But my thing is, if we cannot believe entities that we consider God, whether Ram, Shiva, Krishna, whatever, if we can't believe in entities who we consider God, how do we believe in human beings who claim that they have seen and heard what no one else has seen and heard? So, how do we relate to this God? It is only when God comes, takes an avatar or takes a form and behaves in certain ways that we know what is the choice that they want us to make. So, for example, if we see a Ram walking all the way to Lanka to get his wife, we understand what is the duty of a husband and a wife. When we see Ram crying for his wife, we understand this is the kind of affection that should exist between a couple. When we see that Shiva helpless, he told Sati, don't go, Sati went. But isn't that what a husband-wife relation should be? Should one person force the other to obey them? They can't. Husband and wife has an equal relation. You have to respect each other's decisions, and you have to live with the mistakes that the other person makes. If you talk about Krishna, I mean, just imagine. There are cultures in this world where music is considered ungodly. Uh, Laughter is ungodly. You're not supposed to laugh out loud. And we have Krishna, whose life is so full of the cutest pranks and the beautiful camaraderie between him and the Gopas and all the fun and frolic. It teaches us, no, that it's okay to have fun, it's okay to laugh, it's okay to be light-hearted. But at the same time, if we discount that, what kind of a god is Shiva who cried for his wife, then it is the same Shiva, no? In which the entire universe merges back after dissolution. If it is a Krishna who steals butter, it is the same Krishna, no, who showed his Virat root to Arjun. We can't forget that. If we are going to look at the human aspect of God, there are also more than enough instances where they have shown and proclaimed their divinity. They behave in human ways, which is what the Sanatan word called Leela is all about, to give us an example. So when we see how Ram faced problem after problem, vicissitude after vicissitude, but never once gave up on dharma, it gives us a clear outline of how God expects us to lead our lives. When we see the power of Shiva and the patience of Shiva, we realize that power has to go hand in hand with patience. That is the way of right living. So, Sanatan, gods behaving like humans is nothing but how else are we going to learn what right living is all about? How else are we going to learn what God expects us to do? And if you see in the Purans, you will see gods behaving in very human ways. In the Upanishads, you will find the highest philosophy, the deepest sense of reality. Such opposite views you will find in the Upanishads and the Purans. Why? Because the Purans deal with people who are still caught up in the ordinary rigmarole of life, who are not so evolved or advanced as to think about, the deepest recesses of who am I and how am I related to the Paramatma. But that person also needs guidance, no? In order to evolve to that next stage, that guidance should be there. So those who can relate to the humanness of life, they can relate to the Purans, where God behaves in such human ways. And those who have evolved, they will naturally find their, their gyan, their they will naturally be able to relate to the Upanishads because now they've gone above the ordinary rigmarole of life. So God acting as humans is only for us humans to learn because that's the only way we will learn. What other reference do we have? To really know the right method of living. So that is why God acts as human also. God suffers also. So I've got an entire chapter on how could Shiva not recognize his own son. This entire story of how Ganpati got his elephant head. In that, if you once when you read that chapter, you will see everybody suffered because of their arrogance, including Shiva, including Parvati. So all of that. So they lead by personal example. Sometimes their example tells you what to do and its consequences. Sometimes their examples tell you what not to do and its consequences. But you will always learn how to how to lead, how to create a successful life through all these stories. So God behaving in human ways is only for us to be able to relate to them and know that God understands our pain, God understands our dilemmas, God understands, and He doesn't look down upon us saying that, "Arey yaar, what nonsense! Kaise loge yaar? Kya morons? You don't know how to live life." We know God understands our pain because we have seen Him go through pain ourselves. So we know God understands what pain is all about, dilemmas are all about, joy is all about. We know. So yeah, does that answer the question? Does that answer the question? Can I have some reactions? So yeah, so those were the 3 or 4 questions that we addressed today. I would, this civilization of Bharat is such a gift to the world because scientifically, intellectually, spiritually, socially, Sanatan civilization, if understood the right way, if we are ready for our myths to be busted, it is a roadmap for successful living regardless of any culture or religion one belongs to. And it is the only panacea for the kind of world that we are living in today. If this world has to survive, if human beings have to learn to live in harmony with each other and with nature, it is Sanatan Sanskriti and it is not a religion. I'm very clear, Sanatan is not a religion, it is a way of life. So that has to be, those values have to be adopted and those values have to be applied. And truth, righteousness, love for your family, being dharmic is something that can be applied by a person of any religion. So yeah, so this is what it is. And I will just take you through the kind of questions that are answered in this book, just for yeah. Okay. So these are some of the questions that we spoke of just now. So I have 3 sections in the book. One is from the epics and Purans, where all these questions are there. Ram versus Ravan, who's the better man? How do you explain the Ras Leela? Was Vibhishan, again another big debate. Vibhishan, Ghar ka Vedi, Lanka Dhai. Vibhishan sahi tha ya Kumbhkarn sahi tha? It's a big debate. So that debate I've tried to address it. A lot of people, I don't know whether you've heard it already, I have heard it a lot. Duryodhan was a good king. Yudhishthir was the one who bet his wife. Yudhishthir is the villain. Duryodhan is a victim. So let's bust that as well. Nobody is atoning Yudhishthir. The very fact that we question Yudhishthir as a Dharmaraj means he lost his status of Dharmaraj the day he played that game of dice and the day he bet Draupadi. But really he was the villain. One very controversial character, Indra, who's done every wrong in the book, but still is the king of gods. What is the reason for that? And one of my biggest revelations while doing this book is why is Sage Narad so exalted? That chapter, I had never wanted to, I never thought of writing it, but when I came across something in the Mahabharata, I had to write this. So it's such a revelation, not just about Naradji, about the whole society of Bharat, the civilization of Bharat. Again, Karn, he was never a victim. Anything that tells you that poor chap, poor Karn is all nonsense. And I've said this with references from the Mahabharata. Another thing somebody had told me, "Oh, we believe in the Ramayana and Mahabharata, believe kar sakte yaar, but Hanuman swallowing the sun, how is that possible?" So I've tried to explain how that is possible. Ahilya is again a very big question. Then culture. Why does Sanatan have so many gods? Why do they behave like humans? Shivling we discussed. Why do we have gods like Ganesha, Narsimha, half animal, half? Somebody had raised that question some time back. Status of women we discussed. Caste system, another biggest myth that has been fed to us. And why do Brahmins get more importance? A great chapter is Science and Sanatan. Does science come from Sanatan? So I think it's the longest chapter of the book. Rituals, why should we visit temples? What was society like? What is God? Is he serious and punishing or happy and fun loving? What is the idea of God? Why do they ride animals? Why do we fast? Why don't we feel like God if we are all God? Okay, and why does Sanatan not have a ready set of ideas? ये करो, ये पहनो, ये प्रे करो, इतने टाइम करो, ये प्रे ऐसे प्रे करो, इस पोस्चर में बैठ के करो, ये पहनो, ये मत पहनो, ये खाओ, ये मत. ये सनातन में ये क्यों नहीं है? Why don't we have this very convenient checklist for ourselves? Why is everything a dilemma? So yeah, we are answering that. Afterlife, fantasy or history, that's a big one. Is it just fantasy? A lot of Sanatanis feel it's all fantasy. But I've tried to put forth thought to that. So let's see. And one big thing that you will hear, British created the idea of India. Nonsense. India was always one country, in spite of princely states, culturally as well as politically. How that is so, I've explained in that chapter. So yeah, these are the chapters of the book and some basic concepts about Sanatan because we need to know, if we really want to understand this culture, we need to know certain concepts. Oh, Maya, all of that, a lot of that is there in our Balvikas also. So yeah, so that's that. Anybody has anything to say, anything to ask, you're welcome to do that.
I think it was a fantastic session. Honestly, I didn't know where the time flew. Actually, at least I felt, I'm sure most of us would have felt you were transported to a different yuga altogether. I think you literally migrated across all the four yugas and give tremendous number of examples. I think that's the beauty of our culture, that we got so many ready living examples from those who have actually practiced and demonstrated some of these concepts. The only thing is, it's time that we need to go back. I think you brought the important topic on the table for us to go back and not just read the book, but do more research and be more convinced about our own culture and heritage and the entire Sanatan Samskriti. So I think
one thing I would like to add. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
no,
but the reason this culture is so relevant is because progressiveness is built into it by design. So it will never become outdated. Because by design we have what is called the Yug Dharma. the rights and wrong depending on the circumstances of a situation. So we can, by design, we are global. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Okay, ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. By design, we are global. By design, we are progressive. So we can never be irrelevant ever.
Absolutely. I think the concepts that we learned today were actually being part of our ancient tradition, you know. So in that sense, it's more in terms of modern, and at the same time it's ancient. That's the beauty of Sanatan Dharma. I think we ran out of time, but in case anybody has, we can take one question as best. If anybody has any question, you can type it or you can unmute yourself and then just go ahead with your question. Varun, you have your hands raised. You have a question?
Yes, I do actually. My question is actually at Amishi ma'am. Ma'am, I'm actually a Balvika student. I am interested in theater. It was truly an honor to meet a playwright and a director. So I just wanted to know, are you having any upcoming plays now? Because I really wish to act in them. Ma'am, you are on mute.
We're not able to hear you.
I said currently I don't have anything with professional actors. When it comes up, I'll let you know. Sure.
Yes, and sir, please inform me in case any more plays of ma'am are being made. I wish to take part in them.
Sure. I think a question of a different kind for a topic, but thanks for asking it. If there are no more questions, I think
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram. So I think we are past the time, but maybe I would request Devi Aunty to have a final few words. Aunty, you are on mute. I think we're not able to hear you. No, we are not able to hear you still.
We can't hear you, Auntie.
I think she's not able to hear us as well.
Us either.
Okay.
Is there a message or something?
Yeah, I think I'll just drop her a message. Yeah, I think some good comments coming here. I think thanks, Maya Aunty, for putting that speaker for Ladies' Day celebrations. And this will be an inspiring Ladies' Day celebration for everybody, including men. Okay, I think we will close in here. Thanks, Sister Amishi, for those wonderful thoughts. Again, I think we are not honestly satisfied with this, hoping that you return again, to share more insights and more stories and more examples to continue to inspire us. And thanks everyone for joining us on Sunday afternoon and actually traveling with us on a different era. So wish you all a wonderful evening and may Swami bless all of us. Should we end with Samasta Loka? Naveen, in case you have anything to show, or should we just chant off Samasta Loka?
I think just Devi Aunty joined from phone. Let us see what if she's able to speak.
Yeah. Devi Aunty, go ahead. You are on mute right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, Amishi, just to thank you for that wonderful presentation. as Siddharth said, it was taking us back to all the yugas. You busted a lot of myths. And for me personally, it was an eye-opener to so many things which I didn't know. So I am really very thankful to you for explaining this in so much detail. And I'm sure all our gurus here and the children have a lot of takeaways from your session. And may the book be a wonderful success. There are a lot of queries in the chat box about from where they can get it. And I would just like Rama to say a few words, since she's very much been talking on this topic and she's very interested in this topic. Rama, please. Rama, are you there?
Yeah, she's there. I think.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I think it was a great session, and mainly the intense passion of Amishi for Sanatana Dharma has come through this, because it has been those wonderful years of research. She's gone into so much depth. That is a great expression of her passion, and I think Amishi is a person who not only has passion, but she lives Sanatana Dharma, and that is how it should be. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so kind of you, Sai Ram. Thank you.
Thanks, Ramanti, for those thoughts. And I think all of us carry one responsibility after this session, all the Group 4 children, including gurus and all of us, that let's live Sanatan Dharma in purest form and guided by Swami through Bal Vikas. It was a Bal Vikas program or a session in, literally put in 1.5 hours capsule that we heard it today. So thanks once again, Sister Amishi, for your time and efforts to take us through. And thanks Devi Auntie, Rama Auntie, and everybody for joining. We'll have Samasta Loka and then we'll close it. Right?
Om Tat Sat Shri Narayana Purushottama Gurudev Siddha Bodhaku Skanda Vinayaka Sarita Pavakadu Sarita Pavakadu Brahmastatu Yamashaktitu Yeshu Pita Prabhutu Rudra Vishnutu Rama Krishnatu Rahimatavutu Rahimatavutu Vasudeva Goveshwaru Shidananda Haritu Advitiyatu Akala Nirbhaya Atmalinga Shivatu Atmalinga Shivatu Atmalinga Shivatu Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai